The name Garth Brooks carries a weight that few artists in any genre have ever achieved. Over the course of his career, he has sold more than 170 million albums worldwide, a number that places him among the most successful recording artists in history. His reach extended far beyond country music. Even people who never followed the genre knew who he was. He wasn't just popular, he was a cultural force. At the height of his fame, Brooks made a decision that stunned the industry. He walked away, voluntarily. At a time when most artists cling tightly to their peak years, he stepped back from the spotlight, choosing family over fame. Years later, he returned on his own terms and proved something few believed possible. He could still dominate. Even into his 50s, he was filling stadiums, commanding audiences with the same energy and magnetism that had defined his early career. Which is why his current situation feels so jarring. At 63, Brooks finds himself facing a convergence of crises. A serious lawsuit spanning multiple states. A highly publicized business venture that stumbled almost immediately. A fractured fan base triggered by a cultural controversy. And whispers that he may even be considering leaving the country altogether. This isn't a story about a single mistake or a fleeting controversy. It's about multiple pressures colliding at once, and the deeper you look, the more complicated it becomes. In October 2024, a legal complaint filed in Los Angeles sent shockwaves through the country music world. The plaintiff, identified only as Jane Roe, had worked closely with both Brooks and his wife, Trisha Yearwood, for years. She had been part of their professional circle since the late 1990s and later joined Brooks' personal team. According to the complaint, the nature of that working relationship shifted dramatically after Brooks became aware of her financial struggles. The filing alleges that this vulnerability was exploited, leading to a pattern of misconduct that escalated over time. The accusations themselves are serious. Roe claims that during a trip to Los Angeles in 2019, she was placed in a hotel situation that made her uncomfortable, ultimately leading to an alleged assault. The complaint also describes other incidents, including one at Brooks' home, painting a broader picture of ongoing harassment and misconduct over several years. What complicated matters further was Brooks' response. Before the allegations became public, he had already taken legal action in Mississippi, filing under a pseudonym. His legal team argued that Roe was attempting to extort him, seeking money in exchange for silence. Brooks publicly denied all allegations, stating he was incapable of the behavior described. The legal battle quickly became tangled. His team attempted to shift proceedings to Mississippi, while Roe's attorneys argued this was a strategic move to limit her ability to speak publicly. Courts issued mixed rulings, and by 2026, the case remained unresolved, with both sides preparing for a potential jury trial. The longer the process drags on, the more it lingers, not just legally, but publicly. Every new filing, every court decision, becomes another headline. And for Brooks, it means the situation is far from over. To understand why this moment feels so significant, you have to understand what Brooks built. Born in Tulsa, Oklahoma, in 1962, he grew up in a household where music was a regular part of life. His mother had been a country singer, and family talent nights were a weekly tradition. Still, his early ambitions leaned more toward athletics than music. That changed over time. By the 1980s, he was performing in local venues, eventually making his way to Nashville, a city full of hopeful artists chasing the same dream. His first attempt didn't succeed, but he returned, more determined, and this time he stayed. What set Brooks apart wasn't just his voice or songwriting. It was his approach to performance. He brought a level of energy to country music that felt closer to rock concerts than traditional honky-tonk shows. He moved across the stage, used elaborate lighting, and created an atmosphere that felt larger than life. The success followed quickly. His early albums climbed the charts, but it was no fences that turned him into a superstar. Then came Rupp in the Wind, which made history by debuting at #1 across multiple charts simultaneously. By the mid-1990s, he wasn't just successful, he was redefining the scale of country music itself. Massive concerts, record-breaking sales, industry awards. Brooks reached a level that few artists ever do. He became not just a star, but a benchmark. In 2024, Brooks and Yearwood opened a massive entertainment venue in Nashville called Friends in Low Places. It was meant to be a reflection of everything Brooks stood for: welcoming, energetic, rooted in country tradition. The venue itself was enormous, spanning multiple floors with live music stages, event spaces, and even a rooftop bar. It had been years in the making, and expectations were high. But almost immediately, problems surfaced. Customer reviews painted a different picture than the one Brooks had described. Complaints ranged from high prices to unexpected fees. Some visitors were frustrated by payment policies. But the most surprising criticism centered on the music itself. Many patrons reported that the venue wasn't playing country music consistently. Instead, they heard pop and hip-hop tracks, completely at odds with the classic country atmosphere Brooks had promised. While not all feedback was negative, the early narrative had already taken shape. For someone whose brand was built on delivering exactly what he promised, the disconnect mattered. It wasn't just about a bar, it was about trust. Even before the bar opened or the lawsuit emerged, Brooks had already faced a major controversy. In 2023, during a public discussion about his upcoming venue, he stated that it would serve all brands of beer. At the time, one brand, Bud Light, was at the center of a national boycott tied to broader cultural debates. Many artists in country music had publicly distanced themselves from the brand. Brooks did the opposite. He said everyone was welcome in his bar, but they needed to come with respect and openness. That message, intended as inclusive, was interpreted by some as dismissive of those participating in the boycott. The backlash was immediate. Fans who had supported him for decades expressed anger. Some publicly discarded his music. Social media filled with criticism. For a segment of his audience, it felt like a betrayal. Brooks stood firm, reiterating his belief in inclusivity. But the damage was done. A portion of his fan base, one that had been central to his rise, had already begun to drift away. Public headlines rarely capture the full picture, and in Brooks' case, those close to him describe a period of intense personal strain. The combination of legal battles, public criticism, and business challenges created pressure unlike anything he had faced before. Reports suggest changes in his daily habits, increased stress, and emotional exhaustion. Throughout it all, Youwood remained a constant presence. She appeared alongside him publicly, offering visible support during events and performances. Their unity became a focal point, especially as her name was also drawn into the legal situation. There were even discussions about stepping away, possibly spending more time abroad, including in Ireland, where the couple had grown fond of the environment. Whether those plans were serious or simply reflective of a desire for distance, they added another layer to an already complex situation. This isn't the first time Brooks has faced controversy. From experimental projects like his alter ego Chris Gaines to disputes over industry practices, he has often taken risks that didn't always align with public expectations. Some decisions were criticized, even mocked, but they rarely caused lasting damage. What's different now is the scale and timing. Multiple issues are unfolding at once, each amplifying the others. As of 2026, Brooks continues to perform and remain active. He hasn't retreated from the public eye. Concerts, appearances, and future plans suggest a determination to keep moving forward. But the challenges remain. The legal case is ongoing. Public perception is divided, and the long-term impact on his legacy is uncertain. Financially, he remains secure. But reputation is harder to rebuild than wealth. The image he spent decades creating, of reliability, integrity, and connection with fans, is now under scrutiny. What makes this moment so significant isn't any single issue. It's the convergence of all of them within a short period of time. A divided audience, a business misstep, a serious legal battle. Each one alone might have been manageable. Together, they create something far more complicated. How Brooks navigates this period will likely define the final chapter of his story. For decades, he was one of the most admired figures in music. Now, he faces one of the most difficult moments of his life, both professionally and personally. And the outcome is still